Well, the children are asleep. All 18 inches of snow has been shoveled off my sidewalks. I hope if you are in the path of this storm, I hope all is well in your neck of the woods. I I thought I would take this lull in the action to head downstairs now and play with some stamps. And for today's video, I wanted to return to the Beginner's Guide to Collecting Stamps series and pick up where I left off. So, in the first episode, I shared how much I enjoy sorting stamps. I have an awful lot of boxes like the one right there that I enjoy going through and sorting by country and then finding a home for them in albums and books like those. I then talked also about the process of hinging stamps and how I still do that from time to time, but I mentioned, of course, that hinges can damage your stamps, and so the hobby developed better ways of storing stamps, and one of the first was the venerable stockbook. And so today I thought I would review stockbooks and talk about their pros and cons as we look at this little special book that I purchased off of eBay some time ago. I'll let you in on the secret right off the bat. This book, unfortunately, smells. You can see the foxing on the first page. In the listing, I could not see the foxing, right? I think it's foxing. I just saw this. That is a very nice page of stamps from New Zealand. And when I purchased this album, I did not have a lot of stamps from New Zealand, especially these. And so I was quite excited to learn more and to explore this collection. So, stockbooks. The best part of stockbooks are their flexibility. They allow you to store your stamps, move them around as you see fit, and do so in a way that's safe for the stamps. The main drawback with hinging, of course, is that when you stick a hinge to the back of a stamp and then put it into an album, you can damage the gum on that stamp. And with stock books, you don't have any of that concern because they just slide right into their sleeves. That's a very nice stamp right there. Stock books also have little sheets, protective sheets in between the pages, which protect the stamps, and I'll admit are also fun to turn and listen to if you ask me. So, a stockbook is a great way to store your stamps in the short term. People sometimes use them as albums, like I think this gentleman did. And by which I mean he organized them by year and approximately where they would be in an actual postage album. And that is certainly a good way to go about it. And so they are certainly a step up from a traditional postage stamp album, you know, that relies on hinges, because, you know, that has its drawbacks. But so too do stock books. And one of the main ones is demonstrated by this book. And that's that unless you come up with a way that you can categorize your stamps in the books themselves. So I've seen some folks put little pieces of paper and slide them in next to the stamp themselves, or the stamp itself, and they'll include the Scott catalog number, maybe some pricing information. But unless you do that, there's no obvious way to show which stamps are valuable and collectible and sought after, such as these, and which stamps might belong in the kind of bin that I showed you earlier. And that is the main point that I wanted to drive home. The lesson that you can learn from this album is that this is a nice collection of stamps, but since they weren't categorized, since they're just put into a stock book like this, they ultimately fell into what I'd call disrepair. This book was discarded in a sense, and it was found in a box in a basement, and it had become mildew stained through lack of care and attention over the years. And then whomever found it tossed it up on eBay for, I'm not going to even share what I paid for it. It was much less than what these stamps are worth. And the reason for it is that the person who inherited this book didn't know what was in it. You know, these are nice stamps. This is a nice New Zealand collection. But since the stock book didn't have a way of clearly marking which stamps are valuable and which ones aren't, there isn't a way that makes it transferable to someone beyond the initial collector. And that's something that I think is important for stamp collectors to consider early on in their journey, is that, you know, these stamps are beloved by those of us that care about stamps. And we know what stamps are, what our stamps are when we see them. But that doesn't mean that somebody who gets our album after us, either if we sell it or if somebody inherits our collection, they don't necessarily will know the stamps the same way we do. And so it's up to us to make that clear for them. And unfortunately, stock books simply don't have that built-in way of categorizing your stamp, and so they can fall into disrepair if you don't take care of them. Now, that being said, this is another good example of the positive aspect of stock books. This book was not cared for. It was in a basement, and yet the stamps themselves are in great shape. So even though it wasn't cared for, they do their job. They protect the stamps. So, something to consider as you pursue different ways of caring for your stamps, and let this book be an abject lesson for you in the importance of categorizing your valuable ones. And with that, happy collecting. Oh, actually, hold on. I'm going to show you this one right now because it just jumped out at me. I love this cancel. Gosh, look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Just socked on the nose. That's gorgeous. All right. Happy collecting. Thank you for joining me on another video. Please do like it and subscribe to the channel. It means a great deal to me. And until the next time, take care.